Hi guys, how are you doing today? Ready for some new stories Ask a Lawyer prepared for you today? Let's go to the first one, about OP's wife, who demands he spend his savings for his stepdaughter's expensive birthday gift, while OP has his own daughter to worry about, who in my opinion needs money way more than OP's stepdaughter. Listen to the story to find out why, and of course to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, male 38, have a 9-year-old daughter with a chronic heart disease that we've been dealing with since she was born. She had undergone a surgery, but there are other factors that make her condition worse. She's anemic, and last week was admitted to the hospital for blood transfusion, saying it was necessary and more effective than medication. And less than a month ago, my wife, my daughter's stepmom, told me that my stepdaughter wanted an iPhone for her 14th birthday, since she saw her best friend got one. I told her that I was willing to pay $300 or $250 for a new phone. But when I looked at the prices, the cheapest iPhone was more like $500. I asked my wife if I could buy my stepdaughter a used iPhone, but she didn't like the idea and told me that I had money saved up, my emergency fund, that I could use some of it to buy my stepdaughter the iPhone. Thing is, my emergency fund was for my daughter. Even if I take at least $500 from it, I will end up with not enough money, and I will feel helpless if my daughter needs anything like medication and medical equipment. My daughter's left hand always numbs, so she uses a small ball to help her. But my stepdaughter would take it, and I have to bring her another one. My wife got upset and said that I was clearly playing favorites and overdoing it. My stepdaughter's birthday ended with arguments and fights after I got her another gift instead that cost $60. My wife and my stepdaughter have been giving me the silent treatment ever since. Last week, my daughter was admitted to the hospital for blood transfusion. That cost me money, and I had to ask my family for more just to afford other stuff. I came home for an hour at 2 p.m. and asked my wife if she wants to visit my daughter, but she refused and got mad when I asked my stepdaughter if she wanted to visit her sister. My wife said that I was being neglectful, just putting her and her daughter on the side and ignoring my stepdaughter because she's not my bio kid. I called her ridiculous to be bringing this up while my daughter was at the hospital and refusing to visit over an iPhone. She yelled at me that she'll come back soon, and there was no reason for her to visit, and that my mom can go stay with her. She didn't even cook anything for her, and I used my sister's help. I called my wife selfish and inconsiderate for behaving like that, and she told me she'd go to her family if I don't stop arguing about this. She left and took my stepdaughter, leaving the house empty and making me handle everything, saying it was because of my unfair treatment. OP is definitely not in the wrong here. OP's wife is not a good person. She favors her daughter's material wants over OP's daughter and her health. And the fact that a used iPhone wasn't good enough is even more irritating, because in the end, OP's wife and her daughter threw a tantrum because OP refused to use money they knew OP needed for his daughter. I hope she stops acting like that, because not only is it just terrible in general, it's adding stress and anxiety that OP doesn't need right now. Let's see if the community agrees with me. Nikunta says, "Not the a-hole. I honestly have nothing else to say, because I'm speechless that a mother could treat her child like that." The Last Basilope says, "Not the a-hole. Holy crap. You need to get you and your daughter as far away from this." Insert the most insulting possible term here that I can't say without getting banned. She is ducking vile. She honestly felt her kid's right to a higher-end cell phone is more important than your daughter's need to live. No. Hell no. Duck no. Every kind of no there is. Call a divorce attorney immediately and tell them to serve her as fast as humanly possible. She is a poison you've got to get out of your daughter's life immediately. Seahawks RP says, "Not the a-hole. 1. Of course you're playing favorites. Your stepdaughter ain't even your kid. Your wife will play favorites too. And she demonstrates it through her lack of empathy for your situation and your daughter over a phone. Also demanding an iPhone for her daughter and not visiting your daughter in the hospital. Your wife is a hypocrite." My girlfriend, 28 female, and I, 33 male, we're planning on getting married soon. Been together for a bit more than a year. We never discussed finance. I know she has money, and she knows I have some. I know her parents are very wealthy. I never asked, but I just see it. For example, the father paid for U.S. college. We're in Asia. Fees for his 2 daughters with a flat in New York for them. Then, once they started working, he bought a condo for them. I can see the dude has money. My situation is a bit different. I started a business when I was 26. Over the years, it's been doing very well, making a yearly 8-figure revenue. It's a very niche industry, so nobody hears about us. No Series A, no VCs. We live under the radar. We started the business by putting our own money together, took loan, etc. Stressful times. Almost went bankrupt, but it worked. My business partners and I don't show off our money. We take public transport, etc. Simple lifestyle. When I'm with my girlfriend, I usually pay, but she doesn't have expensive habits, so it's not like I spend lavishly when we are together. So, back to the wedding situation. As we were talking, she told me her father would want me to sign a prenup. The family was very happy that I didn't make a fuss about it, and the father offered to pay for a lawyer for my side. I told him not to worry, I'll get my own. So lawyers meet, etc., and we have to draw the list of assets. Well, as it turns out, I have a lot more assets and liquidity than them, and not by a small margin. This is when things became weird. Later on, girlfriend and I were watching a movie, and she casually said that maybe we could just forget about the prenup and make it easy. I was quite surprised, but didn't want to start a long discussion, so I said she might want to talk to her dad first. Guess what? Dad is now also on board with the no prenup. He said he was worried that I would marry his daughter to profit from his wealth, but now that he knows we are equal, then there's no need to worry. I didn't say anything, but in my mind I thought, hold on a second, homie, we're not equal. I have a lot more than you. After he finished his speech, I just told the family that their idea of a prenup was good for them and myself, and that I would like to continue with it. My girlfriend looked at me and asked if I thought she was a gold digger. I asked her if she thought I was a gold digger when she asked for a prenup. No answer. She then said I was an a-hole for implying she's a gold digger and decided to try the silent treatment. She went no contact for 3 days, so I just messaged her to say I think we should take it easy and break up. My family said they agreed with me, but my friends said they understand them. They had family wealth, so they wanted to protect it, while mine is my own personal wealth. So the prenup thing was just to protect myself, not my kids or family. I initially didn't agree, but now I keep thinking about it. So am I the a-hole for walking away? I think OP is not in the wrong here, mainly because it's hypocritical of her to be so offended by being asked for a prenup when she was the first one to suggest it, and OP had no problem. I think her defensiveness shows that she had plans of taking off with OP's money. Good on OP to follow his intuition. And I would suggest in the future to make sure to never marry anyone without a prenup. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Cult Queen NN says, not the a-hole. They wanted to secure their assets, and when it was the other way around, they wanted to profit from you. Walk away. It sounds like a headache waiting to happen. Justice Kane says, not the a-hole. You're self-made and need to protect your business. It's very transparent that since they were on board with the prenup before seeing your assets, that now it's become an opportunity. Obviously, it doesn't seem that she got with you for what you have, but you've correctly interpreted this as a huge red flag. Move on to greener pastures. Admirable Judgment says, not the a-hole. It would be reasonable to rethink what would be covered by the prenup and how based on new information, example, your wealth, but it makes no sense to drop it entirely. I don't understand the logic of your friends. Family wealth needs to be protected from an outsider, but individual wealth doesn't need the same? Presumably, the prenup would have included provisions for protecting any future children, just as she would be protected by her family. Not to mention that family wealth always starts with an individual, and decided to try the silent treatment. She went no contact for 3 days, which is never a productive way to resolve differences. You were totally right in walking away. It appears that you dodged a bullet. My sister, Eleanor, 26 female, dated her ex-boyfriend, Scott, 30 male, for a little over a year in 2017. My parents and I, 27 male, got to watch their relationship play out from the sidelines, and it definitely wasn't the healthiest. Scott was struggling hard with alcohol and would raise his voice when he got drunk. Eleanor seemed more interested in provoking these situations than providing actual compassion and care. It was toxic all the way around, and they both played parts in it. During their relationship, Scott and I talked often. I would reach out to him whenever Eleanor would come stay at our parents' house after a fight. Sometimes the text conversations and phone calls weren't even fully coherent, but he would thank me sometime later if he remembered our interaction. I think I might have been one of the only people he had in his corner. I was in Eleanor's corner too, but witnessing her not limiting her alcohol consumption around Scott, despite knowing his struggles, was really leaving a bad taste in my mouth. Following their breakup, and a downward spiral from Scott, I was eventually able to reconnect with him. I encouraged him to get help, and I stood by him throughout his sobriety journey. As of right now, he's going on 2 years alcohol-free. He's my closest friend and confidant. We're life partners, and I feel lucky that I got to be a part of his support system. And a support system is exactly what he needs. But he's not been welcomed at any family events of mine since the breakup, despite his sobriety. I have taken him to some, but my parents and my sister have made it abundantly clear that they will not speak to him or do more than just tolerate his presence. This all came to a head this past weekend. I told my family I wanted to talk to them at the family brunch my parents host occasionally. Once there, I tried to initiate a conversation about forgiveness, but Eleanor basically wouldn't allow it. She would interrupt me by saying things Scott had previously said to her. I tried to ignore her and have a productive talk with my parents, but eventually I snapped and told her that if she had supported Scott in the way he had needed and not selfishly continued to drink in front of him, despite the very obvious alcohol dependency struggles, then maybe things would have been different. I left, but have received texts from my parents and her about how out of line it was and how bad of a brother I am. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add, I'm not saying Scott's problem was my sister's fault or putting any blame on her. I'm also not excusing his actions. I'm simply saying that both sides of this relationship were toxic, and I wish forgiveness was an option. I think OP is in the wrong here. She didn't set herself on fire to keep Scott warm, and OP is clutching his pearls over it. She's not required to be around someone who was awful to her. Note that he was actively awful to her, and according to OP, the worst she did was not baby him enough. Scott is not owed forgiveness. Scott needs to learn to live with that. I have no idea where OP gets the audacity to demand his parents now down and worship Scott the same way OP does. Elcrivel says, "You're the a-hole. He had the problem, not her. Congratulations on fixing him. You doing that and then dating your sister's ex-boyfriend who was toxic and aggressive to her says a lot about you. You're the selfish one." Mary Jane's Rain says, "You're the a-hole for initiating this weird relationship with your sister's boyfriend at the time and current ex. If I was her, I'd cut you off. Your sister comes home after a fight, needing support, and instead of giving it to her, you support the guy she fought with. I don't know why you would expect them to accept your guys' relationship. You've clearly betrayed your sister." Tip Top C says, "You're the a-hole. Your sister is not responsible for Scott's sobriety. He is. Implying that her own consumption is to blame for his problem is extremely insulting. Your family also does not owe it to you to forgive him on demand. Let it go, and consider therapy to address your negative feelings for your sister. I think you need to explore why you have a need to blame her for another adult's choices." My daughter, Gina, 38, left her husband, Dan, 40, for a younger and more exciting man from her work. They broke up when she got hit with a condo levy she asked him to help pay for since he was living with her. He declined since he wasn't on the deed. He said that he didn't mind paying rent, but that maintenance was on the owner. They fought and that was that. She ended up having to sell the condo. It was too expensive for her alone, but it was something she fought for in the divorce. That was 6 years ago, and she finally burned through the money from the sale. We told her to buy something smaller in a different neighborhood, but she insisted that she needed to live there, so her kids' lives wouldn't be disrupted. In the meantime, our son-in-law just remarried to a lovely girl, Madison, 27, 28. Our grandchildren like her, and she's always very pleasant when we speak. She is pregnant and the kids are excited for a new sibling. My daughter is back living with us. All she does is work and complain. She has to work too much. She can't meet good men. This new woman stole her life. It never stops. My wife is always commiserating with her about how she is so hard done by. I just keep my mouth shut. Madison came up yesterday to pick up the kids. After she left, my daughter went off again. She was driving a new car that they got her since her old car would be impractical for a family of 5 to drive around in. The kids ran out to see it and checked out all the bells and whistles. Gina didn't even say hello. After Madison and the kids left, she started whining again, now about how she can't afford a new car. I couldn't help it. I told her that she made her choice to give up the life she had for something different, and that choices have consequences. She literally ran crying to her room, and I felt like crap. Her mom scolded me for being so harsh. I apologized for saying what I said, and I honestly feel bad about it. But I think she needs to stop complaining about her life, since she chose it. Well, I guess everyone will agree that she needs to hear the truth. Well, the truth hurts, apparently. The new wife didn't steal anything. OP's daughter threw it away. He Go to Mask 1 says, "Not the a-hole. Your daughter is 38 and is old enough to hear the truth. You don't need to use kid gloves anymore with her." Isabet says, not the a-hole. She's 38, not 5. She needs to grow up and realize that actions have consequences. She left her husband for something new and shiny, and it turned to crap on her. The new woman didn't steal anything, and she sounds sweet. Advanced Awareness 71 says, not the a-hole. You've held your tongue so much as your wife has coddled this sense of entitlement. To a new relationship over the old, to jettisoning her kids in favor of the work boy, to squandering her money and having to move back with parents, to being jealous of the ex's new wife. You shared a perspective Gina needs to hear. She needs to get in gear and make her way forward. My sister, 29, has been spoiled by our grandparents, and even now it's affecting her relationship with the rest of the family. She's done many questionable things over the years, and while this is just a small thing, it still infuriates me. Last week, she was meeting with our father and complained that her basement is super messy and she has no idea how to clean out all the junk. Since Dad is a saint, he of course offered to help clean it out and get rid of all the trash in there, which costs money. Guess that's why sister and brother-in-law didn't do it. Dad spent 4 days on cleaning and throwing things out. 4 days. They live in an old apartment building and their basement isn't even that huge. Apparently, it was everything from wood and metal, from old furniture and boxes, to clothes and actual trash bags. Among the things was also the first bicycle my dad gifted my nephew. He's been gifting him 3 bicycles in total now. Kids grow crazy fast, huh? So he asked them what to do with it, and they said he can take it and do whatever. The bicycle was the only non-trash, and Dad managed to clean it up nicely and sell it for €50. Yesterday, he got a call though. My sister said it was an emergency, and they were all out of money for this month, on the 11th, after being paid on the 1st. I call BS, but no one ever asks me. She goes on to mention that they let him take the bicycle, and how that must have made him some money. What does Dad do? He drives over immediately and gives them the money. So he spends 4 days cleaning their trash for free, sells a bicycle he originally bought after cleaning it, and then they ask for that money. Dad isn't even well off. He and Mom barely get by themselves each month, and sister and brother-in-law have more money for sure. I know this is not super interesting, but dealing with this kind of BS regularly is just so frustrating. By now, I wish them nothing good. Edited to add, for anyone wondering what this has got to do with me personally, or people saying, oh, but you can just keep away, don't get involved anymore. I know, but it isn't so simple. I see my parents every day. I work with them, see them at meal times. So whenever there's trouble because of my sister, I know it because they will fight about it. Xenaboo22 says, and until your parents set boundaries, which they won't, nothing will change. She doesn't try the sob stories on you, does she? She's probably also one that throws a tantrum when you call out her behavior. Lap Steel Guitar says, stop dealing with it. Tell your sister if she says anything to you, you don't want to hear it. Same with your parents. This is their problem to deal with, not yours to mediate. Noah Body 69 says, the one thing that you don't say is that you've never sat down with your parents and calmly told them all of this. Tell them how their actions make you feel. If they continue on with the same behavior, you have the option to cut your entire family out of your life. Yes, you can do that. If you choose not to, shut the hell up about your sister.